back on Get Up the morning after the 2019 NBA draft. We got Jay Will here. He's got some monster thoughts from the draft. Let's get right into it.
All right, let's talk about the biggest winners of the NBA draft. It has to start off with David Griffin and the Pelicans. I said before, David Griffin coming back like Jordan wearing 4 or 5. The reinvention of David Griffin.
Yes.
Right now, for them to get this trade, with the Lakers and have this whole scenario work out and utilize that pick. Now think about, they have probably the most athletic, youngest front court in the NBA right now, and Jackson Hayes and Zion Williamson. You combine that with Lonzo Ball, you combine that with Josh Hart, you combine that with Brandon Ingram, guys who are hungry coming off that LeBron James experience. This team potentially could make the playoffs, but still, don't count them out, because I think Sacramento Kings will make the last spot here going on. All right, the biggest disappointment. It was my biggest disappointment, because it really hurt me last night when you think about Bol, watching him go late in the second round. This guy has a top 10 NBA draft-like talent. Okay, he had a foot injury, has great feet on the court, doesn't have a good foot off the court, which I think really hindered him. Also, people started to question his motor. But I'm telling you, the talent, he's a 9'5" standing reach. He's 7'2". But here's the thing, and Jay Rose gave this point, same with Wendy. He's going to Denver. Denver took a chance on Michael Porter Jr. last year. He could be Rookie of the Year. Could they do the same thing with Bol? That's a big-time question. Moving forward to the next one, the biggest value. I said it before a couple of days ago on the show, the most intriguing talent there is in the draft, Cam Reddish. Cam Reddish had a little bit of an issue with his mid-abdomen, his, down that area, had surgery on that, still affected him the whole year. But this kid is one of the most talented kids in the draft, can shoot from anywhere on the floor. Yes, his shot was a little bit sporadic this year, but still, he was a top 5 talent that went 11th. And don't forget where he's going. Him and DeAndre Hunter are going to the Hawks to play alongside Trae Young. It's also one of the most intriguing teams in the draft as well, as far as next year with the NBA. Moving forward again, sneaky big move, P.J. Washington. People didn't talk about the Kentucky Wildcats this year, Laura. I know you're an SEC girl here. I mean, if P.J. Washington really reinvented his own game, John Calipari really challenged him to be the leader for this team. He added a mid-range game. He added a three-point shot as well, can put the ball down the ground. People have compared him to David West. I'm not saying he's going to be the piece that keeps Kemba Walker in Charlotte, but still a defensive-minded guy that can give you offensive explosion at times. P.J. Washington is actually a sneaky big move. Boom or bust, Nasir Little. Now, we have Mike Schmidt on here who talks about all these guys and watches them all on the high school level. Nasir Little last year was a guy coming into this draft that was going to be a top 5 talent. Okay, averaged 18 minutes per game playing for North Carolina. It was said that he had a hard time understanding the system for the Tar Heels, both offensively and defensively. But at 6'8", he's a guy that can, the versatility, he can defend multiple positions. He's a guy that can knock down the mid-range jump shot. And also, guys, he has pizzazz to his game. He's one of the few guys in college basketball that wanted to guard Zion Williamson all day, every day, and took on that challenge head on. Head scratching move. Okay, I love this kid's game too, but Cameron Johnson, I mean, not only head scratcher for me, head scratcher right here for my man. I mean, Kobe White was like, what? What?
Like you said,
what? 3 times, what? I mean, Cameron Johnson is 23 years old, transferred from Pitt into North Carolina, had a great year for North Carolina, shot 45% from the three-point line. But the amazing thing about Cameron Johnson, he's the oldest player drafted in the lottery since 2009. Himbo, respect on this, since Tyler Hansbrough, okay? He's 7 months older than Devin Booker. I don't think anybody saw Cameron Johnson going with the 11th pick to the Phoenix Suns. And then last but not least, a shout out to my guy. This is hate me or love me here, okay? This is Jerry Lorenzo, fear of God. You saw Clutch Sports put out something on the internet the other day, Rich Paul, about why they did this. I mean, this is Jesus Walks piece right here, Kanye West. I mean, look at the drip. Look at the drip all over. I mean, I love it because I'm different. I know I dress this way sometimes in Brooklyn. I know people in the Midwest don't like it. I don't care. I love it. I think it was swag. He can look like a monk, but he's killing the game as a monk.
You know what it reminds me of?
That's an oxymoron,
really
but you know
quick,
what I mean.
That one time when I was walking through New York City and I was like wearing my pajamas and I ran into you accidentally. That's
it was
what
on
I
Madison
looked
Ave,
like.
by the way. It just wasn't like on New York City.
Madison Avenue. Yeah. Let's not forget Jalen Rose's suit because we've talked about it. We got to see this. I mean, come on.
I got to stand up for my guy real quick. I know he's going to talk about it, but see, this was very fashion forward back then.
It was.
He didn't need a tailor. This is how Jay Rose thinks every day, all day. He always thinks about the future. Jay Rose, respect on the
Detroit, stand up. That boy has some bumps on his face.
What about the suit, though?
I went to the dermatologist right after that. Thank you, NBA.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, that's what life changes when you get that money, J. Rose.
Chin and a smile.
Well done, Jay Will. Let's go here. Celtics have lost Al Horford and most likely Kyrie Irving. Now they need to replace two of their best players. But they've been making a bunch of sneaky big moves. And our Brian Windhorst, who's been with us the last 2 days, has been dying to get this in. And we finally have the moment for it. What are you seeing the Celtics do right now, and what does it mean?
They're opening up salary cap space, and this man will tell you that you don't just have to use salary cap space on signing players. You can use it many different ways. They are pivoting, and they would say to you, we have Jason Tatum, who's a good player. We have Jaylen Brown, who's a good player. We have Gordon Hayward, who's a good player. We have young players who are good, and we have this cap space. We are going to be back next year. And that's what they're going to sell to free agents. Whether or not I believe they can actually do it, that's a different situation, but they are making moves to try to pivot into the future.
What do you think?
I think they need to pick a path, right? Either you're going to rebuild or you're going to retool and try to go after a marquee free agent. And they still have that Memphis pick in 2020 that's protected 1-6, unprotected in 2021. That's from the, with the Mike Conley trade now, that's going to be probably a top pick here. And they also got a pick last night from Phoenix. So they've got the assets to kind of hit the reboot button, but they still have a young core that's still really good.
But that's what I mean, like, rebuild. I don't even understand what that means. A year ago, they were this young, dynamic, upcoming team. How could they be rebuilding?
And they're not like they were in 2013. That was a rebuild when they made the trade with Brooklyn there. That was a complete rebuild. They can retool with this group. I mean, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are still good players, and you still have Marcus Smart. I do think you need to go out and get that free agent, but if they don't, do they use that cap space to take back bad money here?
Here's what you do if you're the Celtics. So you're going to lose Morris, you're going to lose Horford, and you just traded Baines. You got to get a big guy. Go after Brook Lopez. Go after Nick Vucevic.
I got a name for you. Go after Steven Adams.
Go after Steven Adams.
That's who you should go after.
Yeah, from OKC, there's a lot of stories about him.
There's some guys out here that can become remedies, and that's why I keep saying this. Of course, everybody wants Kawhi, KD, Kyrie. Everybody wants them. But there are going to be so many talented guys changing teams like the guys we just mentioned that can still help a team like the Celtics get closer to their goals than they were even last year.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, it is still usually the superstars who wind up winning a championship one way or another, right? Kawhi and KD and LeBron and all of those guys. And speaking of that, we were just having let's just call it a little fun over here, talking a few minutes ago about who the Lakers might try to add around LeBron and AD. And the name D-Wade came up. He's living in Los Angeles. He's obviously best friends with LeBron. He was still an effective player last year if he were to decide to come out of retirement and play a small role there. And I'm told you have another name to throw into the hopper.
I do. I think they should make a phone call to Carmelo Anthony. And I think when you look at where Carmelo is right now, hasn't played most of last year, right? They sent him away in, I think, December. I think those legs are still fresh here. He's a Hall of Famer. For the minimum, coming off the bench, guy that maybe can give you 12 to 13 points.
I wouldn't be surprised at all because you still need to fill out your roster. And there has to be a level of when you add guys to the team that you know what you're going to get from them. And if he is in shape, you know that he can be a heat check type scorer. For Dwayne Wade, I saw him celebrate all last year.
Oh, yeah.
He's living his best life. I don't think Gabby Union is going to let him come back to play.
Yeah.
Let alone
I'm having
to join LeBron.
I'm having memories of 2010 Miami Heat, who to fill out that roster, they were pulling guys from the verge of retirement.
Yeah.
Almost none of them helped them, to be honest.
But they made the finals. I mean, they did make the finals that year, and the Lakers need players. It'd be fascinating if they decide to go out and get all of LeBron's old friends. All right, we want to remind
where it all happens starting at 7 Eastern time. 60 picks ready to go as teams relaunch themselves, reset their rosters moving forward. Of course, it all starts with Zion Williamson, a phenomenon on the floor, and his social profile has climbed along with his vertical since his first jaw-dropping dunk hit Instagram when he was a high school player. The legend of Zion through the lens of social media.
Three years later, we've seen it, and we believe it. When I had a huge game, you had to wait until the next morning to read about it. With Zion, one windmill and a phone, and the whole world is put on notice. Then you go and put a walking viral video on the greatest brotherhood of all time. A heated rivalry in primetime, number 44 at Cameron. And less than a minute into the game, a blown-out shoot stole the conversation.
You got clowns on television saying, oh, don't play. So we do, we play basketball.
I had a front row seat to the most mentioned man in March. Watched as he rose to the occasion, battled through nail biters.
It's right here on the mic. Watch that.
Left us all wanting more. What was once a major press conference for my generation is now a simple post for his.
I will pursue my next dream and declare for the 2019 NBA draft.
Now we talk about what is next. We're waiting on a moment that will forever change a franchise, a fan base, a city. And if it isn't trending already, tonight our feeds will be dominated by 4 little letters, Z-I-O-N. He's coming to shock the world. Believe it.
That was Grant Hill checking in from his phone, by the way, with that piece. In less than 3.5 years now, Zion's Instagram following has shot up by more than 28,000% to a whopping 3.4 million followers. And if you're running an NBA team, this is the kind of pick that you love as an evaluator, your coach probably feels pretty good about, and your owner feels fantastic about.
Oh, there's no doubt. I mean, the business impact is huge, but there's really, a couple types of number 1 overall picks. There's the consensus guys, and there's really 2 buckets of those. There's the guys that like Shaq, LeBron, that lead you to championship contention.
Transcendent sort of talents.
They're going to put you in the conversation to win championships. And then there's great players like maybe a Blake Griffin, maybe a John Wall, that are going to be multiple-time All-Stars, franchise players, but they don't vault you into contention. And so the question is, where does Zion fall amongst these 2 groups?
Well, we're calling these the undeniables. This is your list. Shaquille O'Neal, of course, 4 championships, an MVP along the way. Tim Duncan, a 2-time MVP, won 5 titles. LeBron James' career is in progress, still exceeding expectations remarkably. Already 3 championships and 4 MVPs. And although Anthony Davis doesn't have MVPs or titles yet, he's already a perennial All-Star and now gets to reset with the LA Lakers. And you're the other guys you just referenced, consensus number 1 picks, not necessarily transcendent franchise-changing talents.
Yeah, and some of them maybe yet, right? Maybe Karl Anthony Towns gets there. But Zion certainly fits amongst this group, and this is no insult. This means you're a fantastic player. The question just is that bar is so high to win NBA championships, and we know that Anthony Davis hasn't done that yet, and maybe he underperformed there in New Orleans, but clearly Zion belongs amongst this group.
What's going to be the difference, Sam, between Zion belonging to that first group or the second group?
Well, I think he's in the first group, to be honest with you. And I know I'm a little biased. I've been knowing him a long time, and I'm always the guy on the outside. But when you look at all the outside factors, think about something. He's going to attract players that are going to want to come play with him because he's so unselfish. He's such a good person. He plays hard. He stays in the gym. He works on his game. He's going to get better. But then the NBA hasn't seen anything like this young man. I'm telling you, I've been in the NBA 25, 26 years, and I haven't seen anything like him. The closest I said was Charles Barkley in his prime. But when you look at this kid, how explosive he is, how quick, how dominant. And the thing about it, when you put the ball in his hand, he's like a point guard. He sees everything. He can make every pass and every play. Yeah, does he have some warts in his game? Needs to improve his shooting, needs to improve going to his right a little bit more. Those things are going to come. But when you look at all the other intangibles about that star power, when Zion Williams, he's in New Orleans, when they get on the plane and they fly to L.A. or New York or wherever, that arena is going to be sold out. And that's something that Shaquille O'Neal and LeBron James, that's something that those guys have that other guys didn't have. They're great players. Yeah, I may go see Anthony Davis. He comes to town if I don't have anything. But guess what? When I know Zion Williams coming to town, I'm going to put that on my calendar. I'm going to save my coins. I'm going to buy a front row ticket because I know I'm going to see something that I haven't seen before.
Well, you talk about that first group. I mean, Wes named 4 guys there. I think 3 of them might be one of the top 10 in the history of the NBA.
Right.
So is Zion Williamson going to be in the top 10 of the history of the NBA? I think that bar's a little bit high. To me, it's almost a shame we talk about his social media phenomenon and obviously his athleticism and his dunking. I think it's almost a shame that he's as good of a dunker as he is because people miss the other parts of his game, primarily his passing. So when I think about LeBron James, especially in high school when I watched him play, the number one thing that comes to me about LeBron is his passing. So for Zion to be able to go into that group, to be able to carry a team with him, I think that his playmaking, his passing, his ability to make his teammates better is going to be the ultimate differentiator.
And LeBron's playmaking was evident from day one in the NBA. It's interesting that Zion has downplayed the dunking a little bit. He's already being asked about the dunk contest in February and saying, well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to do that.
Few guys are worth the price of admission. This kid is worth the price of admission. You know when you're in an AAU game and the court is lined 10 deep with spectators. It's going to be the same thing in the NBA. You know the veterans, when rookies come in, they probably don't pay much attention to them, don't want to build onto it. The pros are going to be lining the court watching this guy play, watching this guy warm up, be amazed at the size and the speed and the quickness. And Seth, as you said, the playmaking ability, this is once in a decade type of an athlete and of a player. Yes, Charles Barkley, with that size and that power and ability to completely move you out of the way. Like they're worried that he can't finish in the NBA. Are you kidding me? You better get out of his way because he is going to dunk on your head.
Absolutely.
And he can change directions in midair, which is going to help him avoid the charge, so on and so forth. This kid's really, really special and worth.
Matt, one quick thing. When I coached him, I had all McDonald's All-Americans. To a man, none of them wanted to practice or play against him.
Really?
Now, these are all his peers that were McDonald's All-Americans. I used to ask him, what is it, Coach? Zion's just a different person. You don't understand. When you're on the court with him, it's just a different animal.
They know. You know, a lot of us spent a lot of time around Vegas during Summer League, and it's always exciting to see the top picks. This is a kid I cannot wait to lay eyes on in person. Hawks trade news coming up, and we'll hear from the man in charge of their three first-round picks when we come back.